If you've heard about using wood chips in the garden and the back to Eden method, and yet you've seen a lot of reports of different gardeners who have said they've used wood chips and they've had subpar results, or they're not using wood chips anymore, that it doesn't work, and you're wondering what is the disconnect? Well, it's because they're doing it wrong. And I was one of those people. I tried doing wood chips in the garden for a number of years and had, on one hand, some decent results. Definitely there was less weeding. We had less weed problem, less compaction, which were all great. But after a year or two, a lot of the crops on that side of the garden started to suffer. And then I started to have a lot more weed pressure come in. But because I had the wood chips down and couldn't till, I quickly had this huge mess and I felt like the wood chips weren't working and it was a complete failure. However, the problem was me. I got quite a few things wrong, 4 of them that I'm going to share here with you today. But it also made me determined to figure out how to do it right. And so I went directly to the source and talked to Paul Gautschi, who is the founder, creator of the Back to Eden method, and found out exactly where I went wrong. The first is I was using the wrong type of wood chips. I was not using arborist wood chips that had green material and the full part of the tree, and especially the branches and leaves, in to begin with. My second problem was I did not actually do my wood chips deep enough, nor continue to add wood chips as the years went on. My third problem was simply not giving it enough time for the soil to heal and remediate itself so that it actually could be flourishing. Basically, I gave up too soon before the good results were going to happen. And the fourth thing is not using any type of amendments to feed the soil, either compost or something like blood meal, to give some nitrogen as the soil was working itself out and getting those levels balanced and healed. And so therefore I was having a crop issue, but it was simply because I was not following the right steps. And I think that this is where I see a lot of gardeners who try to imitate this system of gardening also have issues. So let's go straight to the source. So Paul, one of the things that you talk about is most important is the covering. But wood chips is your favorite, but I also see that you have even used rocks when it comes to your covering.
Rocks are a great covering. If you look in nature, if you go in mountains, you'll see really bright green evergreens growing out of solid rock. You see it.
Yeah.
Well, it's saying something. There's minerals here. Rocks are concentrated minerals. So rocks are a really good growing medium.
I'm assuming with the rocks that it's going to work best though with perennials as the covering in a perennial type bed.
Because rocks are not easy to move and work with. It's they're challenged, so you don't want to have to do much work with them. Leave them in place. But stuff grows fine in rock. You can see in here all these weeds, how nice they're growing.
Yeah, the weed. Yes, I've noticed that my dandelions at home seem to like rocks just fine. Mm-hmm. And my mullein, actually, will tend to come up in some of those spots, too. Mm-hmm. So one of the things when people are first using the Back to Eden method, and like my hand raised here, it's such a simple method, but we tend to, I think, as we come to it and start to implement it, we tend to bring a lot of the practices that are more modern agriculture into it, and we tend to kind of mess it up a little bit.
Not kind of, major mess it up.
Well, you call me out. You tell me that.
Yeah, I'm serious. We mess it up big time, man.
So when it first coming to the Back to Eden, where my biggest mistake was using the wrong types of wood chips, and that really stalled my forward progress. I saw some good.
Well, it wasn't wood chips, it was sawdust.
Correct, yes.
It's different.
It was large sawdust. Yeah.
Yeah, see, wood chips are chipped branches, needles, leaves, and twigs. Those are critical parts. Sawdust is not a growing medium. Yeah. You look at sawdust piles, no weeds are growing in them.
True.
You see piles of wood chips, things are growing in them.
Yeah. Okay. So making sure we're getting all of those parts in there, true wood chips, not sawdust. And then when you're doing a new garden bed, making a new garden bed. I know when I watched in the documentary that your preference is to put down some layers of newspaper.
To kill the grass or weed.
Right, to kill the grass or the weeds. So is there a reason that you choose that over cardboard? Could cardboard be used or no? In your
some cardboard is toxic.
Yeah.
And
with the glues.
Yeah. And so paper's clean. I don't think the print really, the ink, I don't think is an issue. So and then it's so available.
Yeah.
A lot of newspaper around.
So go with the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And what's about the thickness for the weed?
Three layers is probably good enough.
Is going to be good. Mm-hmm. But the beauty of that is you're only doing it when you're creating a new bed.
Just starting out, yeah. Get rid of your grass.
To get rid of the grass. So I know in most of the documentary that I saw, that was best done in fall, so that you had all winter for that grass to break down. And then, but say
when does the creator put a covering on the ground? What time of year?
In the fall.
When do humans do? Spring, which is really stupid because it takes time for the material to break down and feed the soil, and you're planting in spring. It's just the creator really knows what he's doing, big time.
Yeah.
What's up with us?
We do tend to want to do things when we want to do them, mm-hmm. regardless of when is best.
Yeah. Well, work hard to fail. Go for it.
So so for me, for example, I've got a lot of existing beds, and we only use organic. Like I use organic composted manure from our chickens and our beef cattle and whatnot. So I don't use synthetic inputs or mm-hmm. synthetic fertilizer, but that is something where I have been applying, putting that compost down. I've been working it in, which we're not going to do anymore, but using that is in more of a layered system. But when you're first moving soil over to wood chips, when it has been soil that's been tilled, have you heard of people, or have you seen where people do notice the first year or so as they're making that transition that there can be a nitrogen dip?
Well, yeah, usually when soil's been tilled, it's been killed,
yeah.
It's been damaged, so it's going to take a while to recover. But the beauty of the covering is that it's a constant upgrade. There's no ceiling. It just keeps getting better. I love that. It's just so fun, It's not maintaining, it's like, look at this. Wow, it's just always getting better.
So the first year, if you notice when you're planting signs of nitrogen deficiency, things are stalling out, your color's not green, it's kind of on that mm-hmm. yellow part. It's okay if if you need to add in some top dressing. Yeah, and compost tea,
just get barrels, buckets, and put stuff in and let it make tea, and water with that.
Yeah,
that really helps.
Okay, because I think what I've seen is I tried it with the wrong type of wood chips, like fully disclosed, but what I see is when people say they've tried Back to Eden and say, well, it didn't work here, it's where I see it's that first year or two and they're seeing where there's that nitrogen dip. And so they're like, oh, this isn't working. But it's because they're not sticking with it to really get that full benefit of letting the soil repair and build itself.
Renew, because you pretty much drained it. You stress it out, so it's got to recover.
Yeah. So it's more sticking with it and just trust that process.
Patience, diligence, tenacity,
Things in society that sometimes we seem to have lost of late.
Well, yeah, because we're so instant. We want instant society, and nature doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No, it really doesn't. I'm curious, because you have been doing this method and sharing it with folks for decades now, for quite a long time. Have you noticed from when you first started until now, which we're post-pandemic and all of that, but have you seen a surge or a growing of even more and more people seeking this out?
People are starting to wake up that food's not good and we're sick all the time and it's not natural. There's definitely an awareness to grow food.
Yeah.
It's really picked up significantly over time.
Yeah. I've seen that too, and so on one hand, it's kind of exciting.
It's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And
when you think about, until 1948, everybody grew their food because there's no stores. people live, if you had food, you grew it because there's nothing, no else to get it.
Yeah. It's amazing in less than 100 years how much as a society we can lose.
I know, huge.
Of skill sets, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't use it, you lose it at all levels.
Yeah, very, very true. Well, and how much would you say of your guys' produce? Because you have a good-sized garden, but this is not acres and acres of crops.
No.
How much do you think on estimate for like your year's worth of produce?
Well, all my orchard and garden and herb garden is half an acre.
And that's not even all, like together or just this whole area?
All of it together. Well, if you put it all together, it'd be half an acre.
Half an acre. And do you provide, would you say 100% of your fresh produce or maybe like 60%? Do you kind of have an idea there?
I could be 100. Occasionally I'll go to the store and buy something. My wife does more than I do.
Yeah.
But if she's gone, I don't go to the store. I just eat everything here.
Yeah.
I think it's ideal. I think things come in season for a reason. You should eat them when they show up. God designed these things it's not like accidental, not haphazard. It's designed,
Yeah. So that's impressive because I feel like a lot of people think you have to have a large amount of space in order to provide enough food to bother with.
It's amazing how much you can grow in a small space when you have a good soil. It's all about good soil. That's so bottom line. You got to have good ground.
Yeah. Well, and with the wood chip method, I think what I find so intriguing is that it works with perennials, it works with annuals, it works with herb, it works with fruit, it works with vegetables. It's really this full symbiotic medium across whatever it is that you want to grow.
Well, it's basic. Everything's eating. Everything's eating. And if it's good food, they're going to be good. I mean, duh. This is simple math,
I think what astounds me is how simple it is. And yet, all of the issues that we have with gardening, like where we're coming in and we're doing crop rotation to try to mitigate disease, and even naturally, we're trying to do all of these things that you have seen here with over 30 years of doing it, that once that soil is truly healed and built up, that it takes away the need to do all of those things.
Right. It's called health. When you're healthy, you're not sick.
Yeah.
Duh. I mean, it's just health is great.
I guess we don't really see that approach, especially in the U.S. within our society and our healthcare system. Well,
because there's no money in it.
Yeah.
The allopathic medicine makes big money on treating symptoms. I mean, they make big money maintaining illness.
Yeah. And I think for myself, I see that more so in our medical, probably because I was in pharmacy for so long, and that was my first wake-up call, 15 years ago. But it is true.
Pharmacy. Ever read the package inserts?
Yes,
you got
I had to.
One line of benefits, paragraphs, pages of side effects. Come on, folks.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? The word pharmakia. That's sorcery. Mm-hmm. It's not God.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that usually once you're on because you're treating the symptom. You're not the healing.
The issue, yeah.
And that's with the wood chips, that it's truly healing the soil, and then over time, and I think that's the point. I think we hear about wood chips, or myself, hear about Back to Eden, and I wanted to apply them and think that it would be that instant fix. And really nothing is an instant fix. It's that continuing with it, but it's going to take time to heal, to see the full benefits. And I think that's where I was like, I don't know if this is working. And so you tend to want to revert back. Mm-hmm. But it's letting that soil truly build, kind of trusting that system to let the full healing, and that's going to take some seasons in order to get there.
Yeah, you didn't destroy it immediately. It took a while to deteriorate it, so it's going to take a while to rebuild it.
Yeah. But with the wood chips, you've said that over the 30 years since you've been doing it and teaching it, that you really have seen this work in all over the world and pretty much any climate.
Right.
That's pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with the different mediums that I know we talked about, rocks can be used.
It's interesting. You know how deserts were created in Africa?
No.
By taking livestock off the grasses.
Is what? Oh.
And then the grasses, because they weren't being pruned by animals, died off and became deserts.
That is fascinating.
It's incredible, and they're coming back and they're bringing livestock back and totally restoring deserts in Africa, turning them into grasslands.
That is interesting. You know, I actually recall hearing about some of those studies. Joel Salatin was sharing how they've brought vegetation and animals back in, and they actually can see that it tracks and brings the rain in.
Yeah, Joel Salatin is an amazing. He really got a tremendous revelation of managing soil.
Yeah.
You know, with livestock.
Yeah.
He's really figured this out, man. He's got it down.
Yeah. Yeah, we use his methods. We started using his methods for our pasture, doing the mob grazing, and have seen good results with that. So, yeah, it's exciting to see all of these different areas and more word of this type of management getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to the coverings, I know your preferred is wood chips, but if someone doesn't have access to wood chips and wants to get started right away, like especially in the fall, as we come into fall, like with the leaf matter from our deciduous
leaves are
trees.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all part of wood chips. Wood chips are a lot of leaves, ground up, chipped up, you know. So leaves are, and that's what God uses in nature, you know. It's a really good medium.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I was looking out at our pasture, and we've got some areas in our pasture that have been really compacted before we were doing mob grazing and more of that style. And so I'm thinking that this fall, I'm taking the leaves and putting them on those areas over winter when the cattle won't be on that part in the grass pasture, and then because it'll break down faster than the wood chips. To feed that area. So I think I'm gonna apply it to some of our pasture management as well.
If you look at this lay land right here, this is kind of a low spot right in here. And I used to mow here. It was just my mower was sinking the mud. And I'm thinking like, God says just put wood chips over it. And I did, changed everything. The wheels were buoyant, didn't sink, grass is growing great. It's just like,
so you even use the wood chips with
on
grass?
Lawn.
On lawn.
There's no place it doesn't work.
Well, maybe I just should put some wood chips on my pasture.
Yeah, just if you know, get them really fine and spread them out. You'll be amazed how nice the grass comes back.
Okay. Well, I've got some testing to do. I got some work to go do. Yeah. Okay, I'm intrigued. So, did you just put them down in spring? Because I know we were talking about nature naturally puts down coverings in fall.
Well, I don't remember the time of year, but I remember because you know I can't. I used to mow as I started to lose my ability to walk. I'm having a really hard time getting through here, and that's when I asked the creator, and it was phenomenal how it's just, man, I'm coming through here. I'm not on mud anymore. I'm buoyant. The wheels are staying up. It's just like it made such a change, and it was just such a simple solution.
Okay. What? So for a thin, what you say, like maybe an inch in the grass?
Yeah.
Would you say about it? Thick?
Maybe a couple inches.
Couple inches. Don't do the 16 inches though.
No, not in the grass.
Okay.
You won't have grass. You know.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna give that one a try.
It was phenomenal how well it worked, and it really fertilized too, as well as gave me buoyancy.
Yeah. Well, and it would have helped with the carbon. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that would go there. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try it with the leaf and the wood chips. I might even just do a dividing line and see same, different.
Yeah, do a comparison.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time and opening up your garden and sharing your methods.
You're so welcome.
So now that I know the correct way to do it, we are back in the garden and I have 4 to 6 inches of actual to goodness arborist wood chips that have the green part in them, and we are starting out the correct way with all of our garden beds, and that will be including our orchards as we get going. Now, if you want to see the entire story and interview that we did with Paul is going to be the cover story of Homesteading Monthly in our October issue. But that means that you want to go and snag your subscription to it now, because with the way our printing dates fall, you have to make sure that you are a subscriber when it goes to print, which will be in September, and then it will hit your mailboxes the first part of October. And not only that, you're going to want to make sure that you have all of our issues, because we cover a plethora of information all about homesteading inside each and every month. To snag your copy and get your subscription, go to homesteadliving.com.